communications and engagement strategy has evolved in Rancho Cucamonga since the beginning of the pandemic?
For sure. Ironically, on March 13th, the day the national emergency was declared due to the coronavirus, I was flying back to California from Washington, D.C. The city manager and I and a couple of council members had been back there, and we had spent the previous day popping in and out of our legislative meetings, trying to determine, what to open, what to close, determine the difference between that fact and that speculation. And just trying to get our hands around what do we really need to share with the community. I'm sure you all remember the world was in a complete panic at this point. And about a year before this, the city had formed what we call our CAN team, our Community Affairs Network, where all of the different community affairs professionals throughout the organizations who at the time worked in individual departments, the idea was to bring them together to collaborate, to support one another, to provide backup support when, things were busier or leaner. And, as we were kind of working on, meeting once a week, every other week, we had created a group in Teams, which at this point was completely underutilized in our organization. But we were really at that point where we were just sharing updates. We really hadn't gotten to that true collaboration. So as I'm on my Southwest flight with my $8 Wi-Fi, trying to, help with the messaging, I was eternally grateful at that point that we were already set up on Teams, because I was able to work with the CAN team on getting the messaging out that we wanted out. And as a side note, my city manager is sitting next to me and looks over and he's like, "What are you doing? Like, how are you getting all this information so quickly?" And I'm like, "This is Teams. It's one of the things that's in our office suite. We've had it for like 2 years and nobody's really used it." And next thing we know, he's downloaded it and, he's created a department head team. And, from that, for our organization, Teams spread like wildfire across our organization, as I know it did in many, many cities across the country. So anyways, as we also don't have our own health department, we were relying on that information and the guidance from the county. Our emergency, as we framed it to our teams, was to keep our essential operations running safely and effectively and supporting our local businesses and our residents in their time of need. And in the midst of all of the panic and all of the fear that was filling up the social and traditional media markets, we made a very deliberate decision to broadcast a message of kindness, of compassion, of hope. We did this relying exclusively on Teams for that internal conversation, and also on our individual creativity, the dedication from this team, all of our teams, and the support that we were able to give one another. All of our messaging that went out was calm, it was reassuring, it was positive, it was supportive. We had hashtag RC community with unity capitalized, and hashtag be kind RC. These were really our mottos going forward. We specifically did not use any big red X's or circles, with things crossed out. And we focused on the immediate needs of the community, but as well, we were very focused on recovery from day one. And what do we need to do now to make recovery later easier or quicker? As a result, we saw a huge increase in our sign up for our e-newsletter. Our followers on social media soared. In the first 6 weeks of the pandemic, we saw our overall impressions increase 150%. We had purpose, we had a collective goal. We were making sure that we were positioning ourselves and our businesses to recover as swiftly as possible, even though it continues to elongate. But I think one of the most meaningful things that happened because of the pandemic, like any good crisis, our CAN team really came together in a way that only a crisis can create and unite. When it came time for budget reductions and reorganizations due to everything and the impacts of the coronavirus, all of those individual community affairs professionals began actually reporting under one division out of the city manager's office. And that team just gelled, and they have since tackled a number of complex community and community affairs issues and communication issues. And I just couldn't be more proud of them and their response and the growth that I've seen in not only our CAN team, but our organization as a whole in the last 10 months.
Yeah, that's really something. Rancho Cucamonga has always had this reputation of not only for its professional management, but its innovative approaches, its focus on cultural importance. And I love the notion of your positive messaging and just the impact that that has on the businesses and residents that you're serving. Have the participation levels that you're seeing, have they continued to be at a higher level now as we're 10 months into this?
Our social media stuff, that's declined a little bit, especially in light of the election and all the different algorithms that go into place. We are seeing record number of participation, though, in some of our other community engagements. For instance, we're in the middle of our general plan update, and we're getting way more input and feedback than we ever had with, the traditional, or in our case, the mixed medias, but the traditional meetings with everybody showing up and asking questions. So we're seeing more engagement in a broad spectrum as opposed to just in one particular area or one social media platform.
Okay.
And that's exciting.